When the laws of football were first written down in 1863, there was no mention of shirt numbers. In fact, numbers weren't used in a big domestic match until the 1933 FA Cup final, when winners Everton wore 1 to 11 and Manchester City wore 12 to 22. Over time, shirt numbers became synonymous with players. Pelé is arguably the most famous number 10, but he only got the number because Brazil forgot to register squad numbers at the 1958 World Cup, and FIFA chose their numerals for them. And Johan Cruyff first wore number 14 because he'd given his regular shirt to a teammate and picked up the first spare he could find. Despite being a staple of the game for 80 years, it wasn't until the early 90s that teams began to experiment with fonts in football.
In 1992, commercialisation exploded in football, and the Premier League introduced shirt names to the standard number. And this was a clever marketing move because fans could pay for their idols or indeed their own name to be printed on their expensive replica shirts. And over time, football clubs have started to develop brand identities for themselves. For example, Tottenham, they employed a branding agency to redo their logo in a modern and clean way, and they also commissioned a typographer to create a distinctive font just for them. And this font features in all their communications, in the stadium, matchbook programmes, even on Spurs TV.
So where do clubs draw their inspiration from?
In 2005, Real Madrid produced lettering that features uppercase and lowercase, and this is inspired by the Keough Towers that has a lovely slant to it, and the colouring is also inspired by the Keough Towers. It's black and it's lovely silver to it. Barcelona's current typeface, that was inspired by the sharp chimneys in Gaudi's architecture within the city. If you're a club in the Premier League, you have to have Premier League lettering that could be placed curved or on a straight line. If you're playing in Europe, it's a free-for-all. Manchester City have two different fonts, one Premier League, which is mandatory, and the other one is one for Europe. And this is an old typewriter font, which is inspired by an old Umbro telegram. Chelsea's European one from 2010 was inspired by Germany's 1974 Beckenbauer shirt, and has this lovely retro feel to it.
But do fans really care about the lettering on the back of their shirts?
At the end of the day, football clubs are brands, and brands are commissioning bespoke typefaces more and more. It gives a brand an ownable and unique asset, and makes them stand out above the competition, and I think they can become as iconic as logos themselves.